Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to cover a different perspective on the constraint options inside Figma. Again, this is just another perspective on the constraining options. There are plenty of other videos on constraints that you can check out. I just don't want to regurgitate the same stuff. I just want to put it in a different perspective. All right, let's start off with directional constraints. So whenever you have a frame, so for instance, I've created a few examples. We've got our frame here and we've got an object inside that frame. So when we select the actual objects, we get the constraint options. So what does it mean when it says top left? So in relation to the parent frame, what this means is we're locking this object to the top and the left side of the frame. So now that space here, so between the object and the top, and between the object and the left, which is 128 pixels on the left, 128 pixels on top, that's getting locked. So we're locking the space. So now if we start adjusting the size of the frame, as you can see, Figma doesn't really care about the right and the bottom space. We just told it to care about the top and the left. So when we're adjusting it, yep, nothing's happening. And once we move the top and the left part of it, as you can see, the object goes with it because we've locked that object to that space. Now, same goes for bottom and right. So we have locked this object to the bottom and the right. So once you are dragging it from the bottom right, you can see that it's locked to that space down here. Same for multi-directional. So for example, you've got left, right, top, and bottom. What's going to happen? The object will maintain the same space, which is 128 pixels on all sides in this example. So once we start moving the parent frame, you can see that the object is getting big. It's getting stretched because the object needs to maintain the space around it as 128 pixels, what we've set it. And because the constraints have been set to left, right, and top and bottom. Let's move on to the centering constraints. So what does centering do? So we've got this object here and we've used centering here on both the X and Y axes. So what does it really do? It basically locks the object's width and height. So if you're centering the objects on horizontal constraint, then you are locking its width. And if you're doing a vertical center, then you're locking its height. What does it do when you start resizing the parent frame? When you resize a parent frame, what Figma is actually doing is the amount of pixels you add to, let's say, the width of the frame gets divided into two and gets placed, half of it gets placed to the left side of the object and the other half of that width gets placed to the right side of the object. So you're dealing with how space gets distributed around the object. That's what centering really does. Don't confuse centering with alignment. Alignment is a different concept. It's up here, but constraints have a centering option too. So let me just demonstrate this as an example. So for instance, we've got our canvas, or our frame. Let's say it's 100 by 100. And we're going to put in a square that's going to be 40 pixels by 40. And as you can see, it's 10 pixels from the left and 50 pixels from the right. That's the space that we have for this particular object. So if we put a center constraint for the horizontal axis, what's going to happen? We're going to lock the width of this square at 40 pixels. And now every time we adjust the width of this canvas, or not canvas, sorry, the frame, it's going to distribute the extra width to the left and the right side of the object proportionally. So let's give this frame an extra 10 width. What has happened now is we've added 5 width to the left side and 5 width to the right side. So that's what the center constraint really does. It just adjusts space on either side of the object proportionally. The last one I want to cover is the scale constraint. So scale constraint essentially locks the object and the space around the object within the frame, locks that ratio. So for instance, imagine we have this square here, and this square has a scale on both horizontal axis and the vertical axis. And once we resize this frame, what's going to happen is all the space that's all the width and the height that's getting added to this frame gets distributed across the object and the space around the object proportionally. So as a quick example, I've created this over here. Basically what this is to illustrate that it's the ratio that gets adjusted when you've got the scale constraint applied. So for instance, right now we've got a frame of 100 by 100. Inside the frame, we have an object that's 60 by 60, which is 60% of 100. The space around the object is 20, so that's 20%. So 20 of a 100 is 20%. So 20% plus 60 plus 20 is 100%. So if we make this frame bigger, so let's say we want to increase it double. We want to add plus 100. There we go. We have doubled the size of this frame. So what does this mean for the object and the space around the object? That all gets doubled. So it still maintains its ratio of 20% space around it, and it's 60% of the object's size. So this is now 120 pixels in width and height, which is 60% of 200. And our space around is 40, which is 20% of 200. Now, some people have asked me, well, what's the difference between if I am doing a top, bottom, left, and right constraints versus scale? Well, the difference is that when you're scaling, again, you are scaling things in proportion. So the space and the object size gets all scaled in proportion, while locking the sides, so left, right, top, bottom, you are maintaining that space around the object, but only the object gets all of the pixels given to it when you're resizing the parent frame. So for instance, let's grab both of these things and let's start increasing it. You're going to notice that the space around this object gets maintained. So it's always going to be the same space, while this one gets distributed proportionally. So you're always going to have proportion around this. So when would you use scale constraints? In a responsive web design, you wouldn't really use scale unless you're dealing with images or icons in your library, things like that. So you want to scale things to make them a bit bigger. Usually it's used with graphics. I hope this video was useful for you. Again, this is just another perspective on the constraining options. There are plenty of other videos on constraints that you can check out. I just don't want to regurgitate the same stuff. I just want to put it in a different perspective. So feel free to search for those. Figma has its own tutorials that are very useful for understanding constraints as well. Give those a go and have a great day.